Hey everyone, this is David Brown with the migration update for April 24th, 2024 from the Braddock Bay Hawk Watch. First, a reminder that the Bird of Prey Days Festival is this weekend, Friday through Sunday, at Braddock Bay Park, which is where we hold the Hawkwatch at. There will be live raptors, different indoor events and presentations, and of course the Hawkwatch, as well as hawk banding and owl prowls and things like that. So I'll put a link in the description and you can check that out if you're interested. Kim and I started out the day at the Braddock Bay West Spit, where there was a bit of sunshine and westerly winds, and it was fairly warm, actually the high temperature of the day. Here we have a small raptor with pointed wings. We should be thinking small falcon, and it's light underneath. This is a male American kestrel. And shortly after, we had another American kestrel, but looking at the banding on the tail, as well as the streaking on the upper breast, we know this one is a female, and it was looking quite red in that sunrise light. Here we have a small gull with a black head. The upper side is a medium gray with a white wedge here in the outer primaries and a line of black that's just at the tip of the feathers. This is an adult Bonaparte's gull in breeding plumage. Here we have a warbler with a red cap and some nice yellow highlights to the face and upper breast. This is a palm warbler. From the West Spit, we had 55 species. Next, we headed over to the Firehouse Woods, where it wasn't very birdy, so we didn't stay very long, but in a few weeks, this place will really be hopping with warblers. We only had 12 species on our short walk in Firehouse Woods. Next, I headed over to Braddock Bay Park, where the wind was shifting around more northerly as the cold front hit, and there were a few hours of rain in the mid-morning, and then the rest of the day it just remained overcast with a moderate cold northerly wind, so not a very good day for raptor activity. Did see some, but a little bit less than yesterday's 6,000. And it didn't take long to get the raptor highlight of the day. Here we have a relatively large raptor with very pointed wings. This is a large falcon. We see that distinctive pattern to the head and a lot of blue barring on the underside. This is an adult Peregrine falcon. Here we have a brown duck, and perhaps the most distinctive thing about it is that there's a line going across the face. This is a female ruddy duck, and there was a good number of ruddy ducks around today. We've been seeing 5 or 6, but today there was more like 25. Here we have a somewhat large shorebird. We see really long, skinny, pointed wings. We see a long bill, and we see trailing legs. This is a greater yellow legs, and I identified it before I even saw it because I heard it call. Here we have a lanky raptor with long, somewhat pointed wings. We see a long tail and a white rump patch, as well as an owl-like facial disc. This is a northern harrier, and it's being chased by a male red-winged blackbird. And we start to see that a lot this time of the season, where the blackbirds are nesting in the marsh, and so they'll come up and chase off any raptor that comes close, even things like bald eagles. And after the blackbird was satisfied it had chased the harrier off, a common grackle came to join the pursuit. Here we have a very plain looking sparrow. From this angle we just see a very white breast, no streaking or anything, a very plain looking face with a bit of a white eye ring. Other than that, just some orange highlights, a little orange line through the eye, some on top of the head, and an orange bill. This is a field sparrow. And this is pretty much what it looked like most of the day, just overcast skies with those cold northerly winds, so not very good conditions for raptors. I took advantage of the slower day. I put my headphones in and practiced some warbler songs. So if you haven't reviewed the warbler songs yet, this is a great time of year, as they're all going to be arriving in the next few weeks. In fact, all songbirds, it's nice to review their songs ahead of time, so the first time you hear them for the year isn't out in the field, but you practiced ahead of time, and then when you hear it in the field, you'll recognize it because it hasn't been a year since you've last heard that song. Today at the Hawkwatch, I had 51 species. And one other highlight of the day was just as the front was hitting between 8:30 and 9 a.m., there were several groups of small terns out over the lake. Probably common terns, but there could have been some Forster's terns mixed in. Watching from the boardwalk out at Braddock Bay Park, it was just a little too distant to identify them to species, but definitely a little push there as the front hit. And taking a look at the hawk count report for our migrant raptor totals, today we had 7 turkey vultures, 2 bald eagles, 1 northern harrier, 8 sharp-shinned hawks, 1 American kestrel, and 1 peregrine falcon, for a total of 20 migrating raptors. That brings the April total to 38,673 and the season total to 46,793. Taking a look at the forecast for tomorrow, it's looking sunny with a high in the mid-40s and winds northeast at 5 to 10 miles per hour. So those winds will push the raptors away from the lake shore. We may end up doing the count from Frisbee Hill, but often these kind of days can be hit or miss. It's very similar to a couple days ago when we were over there and had 1 or 2 good hours, but with blue skies, it's going to make spotting the birds difficult, and sometimes it's hard to pick up a flight line on days like this. So I'd expect light, maybe moderate migration. For Friday, it's looking mainly sunny with a high in the low 50s, and winds are starting out southeast and then shifting around to northeast, but a bit stronger at 10 to 20 miles per hour. I would only expect light migration, especially as that wind shifts more northerly. And for Saturday, the first full day of bird of prey days, cloudy with rain developing in the afternoon and a high in the upper 50s, winds south-southeast at 15 to 25 miles per hour. So that's a nice southerly wind, and even though they're calling for a little bit of rain, we could still get a decent push of raptors. We'll see how the forecast changes as we get closer, but really both Saturday and Sunday are calling for favorable southerly winds, so we may end up with a decent hawk flight for everyone for bird of prey days weekend. All right, well, a bit of a slower day today after yesterday's huge day, but that's the difference between north winds and south winds. It's more southerly winds coming up over the weekend, so I hope that you're able to join us soon out at the Braddock Bay Hawk Watch. From Lyco Birds, this is David Brown. Thanks for watching.